Good evening. Welcome to the Haywood County Board of Commissioners meeting for July 20th, 2015. We'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone will please stand.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to serve the citizens of Haywood County. We ask for guidance as we strive to do what's best for our county. We thank you for the life of Maggie, Mayor Ron Desimone, and ask that you comfort his family in their time of sorrow. In your name we pray. Amen.
As Commissioner Upton touched on, we lost Ron DeSimone this past Friday in a tragic construction accident. He was a friend of, I think, everybody on this board and a lot of people in this room. He was the epitome of a public servant. He was visionary. He worked on things and causes outside of the boundaries of Maggie Valley that will benefit the larger Haywood County community. Ron will be sorely missed. He was an inspiration to a lot of people. He championed broadband expansion in Haywood County and was really a leading advocate for that and was making a lot of progress in that. He recently started the Winterfest in Maggie Valley, which I attended last year and had great promise and still does, I think. So if you would, join me in a short moment of silence in honor of Ron DeSimone. Thank you. Okay, we'll move then to the next agenda item, which is a public hearing and consideration of an application and variance request for a new stealth monopine wireless telecommunication tower located at 660 Sleepy Hollow Drive in Waynesville. It's a property owned by the late Junaluska Assembly. So at this point, I will open that public hearing and recognize Chris Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. We received an application from CELLCO Partnership on behalf of VERIZON Wireless for a new wireless telecommunication tower, 132 feet high, as a stealth monopine located next to the reservoir on Sleepy Hollow Drive. After review of the application, there is one issue that has not been met in our ordinance. Subsequent to that, Verizon has submitted a variance request asking for relief of the setback in an amount of 16 feet. Our setback requirement is 25. They have some issues trying to locate next to the property next to them with the tower. So they have secured a consent to variance from the property owner, Mr. Robert Fulbright. So in summary and quickly, I'm going to introduce Ms. Laura Askins of Pennington Law Firm to present the application from CELLCO Partnership.
Thank you, Chris.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Laura Askins. I'm with Pennington Law Firm. I'm located in Asheville, North Carolina, and I represent Verizon Wireless in their proposed wireless telecommunications facility. Here with me tonight also is Ms. Danielle Rojas, also with Pennington Law Firm, who helped extensively in the preparation of the applications before you. Also here tonight is Ken Howell. He is the Director of Advancement on the executive team of the late Junaluska Assembly. And he is here on behalf of the Assembly tonight in support of the proposed facility. Also here tonight is Mr. Husk. He is an adjacent property owner, and he is also here in support of the proposed facility. Thank you for the opportunity to briefly speak with you tonight about the proposed facility. I'm going to try to hit the high points Please feel free to stop me if you have any questions. At this time, I would like to introduce into the record the special use permit application as filed, including Exhibits 1 through 24. Also, the variance application as filed, including Exhibits 1 through 8. Also, the supplemental evidence notebook containing certification of hearing notice for the surrounding property owners. I also have hard copies of the PowerPoint presentation that I'm using tonight. I would like to submit those into the record, and Madam Clerk, may I approach to give those to you? So before I get into the details of this tower, I would like to refresh the board's recollection as to previous similar special use permit and variance applications which were filed for the proposed wireless facility in 2009. Y'all may remember that. Haywood County Board of Commissioners approved both applications unanimously in 2009 without any opposition. The facility was not constructed and the special use permit expired, making it necessary for Verizon Wireless to reapply, which brings us here tonight. I'll show the next slide, which shows the proposed coverage area and the network objective. Verizon Wireless needs to locate here to meet its objective of maintaining its standard level of coverage in Haywood County, and you can see that proposed area here. The coverage will be for north of Highway 19, south of Interstate 40, and east of Highway 276. Now, this area is currently covered by two existing Verizon Wireless sites, the Ivy Hill site and the West Canton site. However, the proposed tower will provide additional coverage, which is limited at the Ivy Hill site due to the topography of the land. Also, it will provide capacity relief for the West Canton site, which is currently operating at maximum and full capacity. I'm also going to show you the next slides, which show the propagation maps. Basically, when you're looking at these maps, red and white means really bad reception and coverage. You can see where the proposed tower of Lake Junaluska is. It's red and white, not good coverage at all. If you go to the next slide, that shows what it will be like with the proposed facility there, showing green, which means really good coverage and good capacity. Also, as y'all are aware, the ordinance requires that the applicant show an inability to co-locate, which Verizon has established in the application it submitted. Specifically, there are no existing or approved towers, buildings, or alternative structures more than 30 feet in height within a quarter mile of the proposed facility that can accommodate the planned equipment at a height necessary to reasonably function. Also, there are no existing electric transmission towers within a quarter-mile radius of the proposed facility. Next, we're going to show you some slides that show a map of the area where the proposed facility will be located. The yellow arrow shows that. As I stated, the representative from Lake Junaluska Assembly is here. They are the property owner where the proposed facility will be located. The property, as y'all have stated, is located at 660 Sleepy Hollow Drive in Waynesville. And importantly, the land where the facility will be located, there's an existing water reservoir there, as y'all may know. And this means that the land has already been graded and cleared, and there's an existing access road there, which means we won't have to cut additional trees. There will be a really minimal impact for putting this tower on that land. We also have included in the PowerPoint presentation a site plan for the proposed facility, as well as photographs of where the proposed tower will be located, also showing the existing water reservoir. The tower itself, as Mr. Boyd stated, is going to be 132 feet in height, a monopine, which means that the antennas will be hidden behind limb-like structures at the top of the pole. Again, the anchor tenant will be Verizon Wireless. However, the tower will be constructed to accommodate one additional future co-locator. We next have some slides showing what a monopine would look like. In terms of the specific ordinance requirements, the applications submitted each have narratives which address each provision of the ordinance and show compliance therewith. With the exception of the fall zone and setback requirements, which Mr. Boyd talked about, we've submitted the variance application for that. According to the ordinance, the fall zone must be equal to 1/2 of the tower height, and the fall zone must have a 25-foot setback from all lot lines. This results in a 91-foot required fall zone setback for the proposed tower. And a variance is required for just the northern property that abuts the subject property. The tower will encroach on the northern property, or the tower fall zone rather, will encroach on the northern property by 16 feet 5 inches. Importantly, the previous variance, which was granted back in 2009, was for a 25-foot 4-inch encroachment. This means that the tower location has actually been moved since the prior application in a way that reduces the fall zone setback encroachment. Also, the owners of the adjacent north parcel consent to the encroachment and support the application for variance, which has been evidenced by Exhibit 3 in both the special use and the variance applications. We've also included on here for your review a slide that shows the prior or the previous fall zone and the proposed fall zone, again underscoring that reduction. In conclusion, Verizon Wireless has met the Haywood County ordinance requirements and respectfully requests that the board approve its special use permit and variance applications to allow the construction of the proposed wireless telecommunication facility. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions?
The only question I have, I know that, in which the diagram you gave us earlier there showed that the reception will be much better in that entire area, because I've had people ask how can they get better reception or what's out there. So that will address that.
Yes, it will address both coverage, because right now, because of the topography of the land, it makes it difficult for the existing Ivy Hill site to send out transmission in that area. So it will improve the coverage, as well as improving the capacity, because the West Canton site is operating at capacity, meaning while it may cover the area, it's got too many users using too much data. So it'll help both the coverage and the capacity issues in that area.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there anyone present who would care to comment regarding this matter? Did receive a note from Mr. Sam Stiles. Welcome, sir.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me. I forgot my ears
Yes, we
coming
can
up
hear
here,
you.
so I'm having problems. But I have lived down at Junaluska for the second time, this time about 24 years. And before I lived over in the middle of the golf course, Lake Junaluska. And I have a problem. And my problem is I live on 592 Mouzon Road, which is off of Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow leads up to the tower, proposed tower. A story that I'll lead into. In 2013, in March, one of the staff at Junaluska made a miscue and didn't turn the water off to the reservoir. So I had neighbors calling and everybody saying, have you looked outside? And the end result was I had over 300,000 gallons of water and mud that came down from the reservoir. Filled up my carport, mud over my tires, went on down. It was like 4.5 feet in the middle of Mouzon Road. And the lake came in with the public service, did a heck of a job. They cleaned it up. Took them 3 days. So I said, fine and dandy, finished issue. But like 2 weeks ago, we had a pretty healthy rain, and it seems that path coming down from the top opened up again. So here comes the water again. My concern is if the tower up there is beside, it's going to be very close to the reservoir, is there going to be a barrier or something? They're going to have to dig down, I assume, to put the tower in. What kind of protection do we have down below that as far as runoff? So that's my problem. And already they're trying to be helpful, but I wanted to bring that issue out.
Well, thank you, and I think, Chris, could we address that? Or-
I spoke briefly with Mr. Stiles prior to beginning. We have not finished our conversation. I'm not sure how we address a 300,000 gallon water spill with stormwater controls. That's very significant, but certainly it is possible that a grading permit will have to be obtained from Haywood County that deals with typical 10-year storm events. There's not much grading to do, so some of that's probably already established. It may be that a conversation with some folks at the lake needs to take place to see if there's any way to address that or correct it. Certainly I will explore that tomorrow and the rest of this week to see if we can assure him that we will attempt to make all necessary corrections.
Well, if it's an ongoing problem, I can understand his concern that it could be exacerbated by.
It could be very simple. I wasn't aware of it before tonight. I haven't taken a look at it. It could be a simple corrective measure.
Are any of the folks from Verizon, were you aware of that, of this issue at all? No? Well, if the board has no objection, I think maybe, Chris, if you could just look into that and.
Yes, sir.
Of course, we'll put off any vote on this matter until the next meeting and, anyway, to allow for more public input. But if you could have an answer for us.
Certainly.
And a
We will make all
recommendation
attempts
at that time.
to satisfy Mr. Stiles' concerns.
All right, is there anyone else present who would care to comment? If not, then I'll close the public hearing and we'll put this on the agenda for our next board meeting, at which time we'll hear from Chris, and then, if appropriate, we'll move to a vote. Okay, next is the public, I'm sorry, does any board members have any comments they'd like to make about this? No. Okay, we'll move to the public comment session. One person has signed up, that's Judy West.
Yeah, I understand I'm a little late for this party, but I want to talk about the dog pound or the dog shelter that you guys want to build for a no-kill animal shelter. We already have 2 no-kill animal shelters in the county. We have Sarge's and we have Duke's Animal Haven. And Duke's Animal Haven is at 5 Tracy Lane. And I live at 136 Lunar Trace. And this is our property line. So all these dogs from the dog pound that they're going and getting, and they're still getting them, they're either going directly to the pound or they're getting them from Sarge and they're bringing them in and they're putting them right next door to me. Now, this shelter has been in operation for 1.5 years. My husband and I have lived on this property and farmed it for 40 years. It's destroyed our life. It's destroyed our home. Our property. We can no longer farm because we have to listen to dogs all day long. I'm assured a quality of life in this county. And let me clue you in, guys, I'm not getting it. I think I gave you some sheets. If you do build this shelter and you want to raise property taxes, well, don't do that. Just adopt these dogs out, because Duke's made $228,000 and change last year. Sarge's made $258,000 and change. So that's nearly $500,000 that this county could be getting by adopting dogs out. They do it every weekend, either Sarge's or Duke's, at the pet store. Every weekend, one of them's up there on adoption day. There's ordinances in this county. You guys better get some of them, if you live in the county, you better get some of them that's intact, because if you think it won't happen to your property, you better give it another think. Because if somebody wants to come in and build a shelter, they can, and you'll be listening to dogs all day long. Now, like I said, we've had our property for 40 years. We have it on the market. We can't sell it. We can't live in it. So we're looking every week, or at least every other week, at houses in other counties. And when we find something, we'll move, we'll lock the door, and we'll abandon our property. And when you go to raise property taxes, you won't be raising mine. I will go before the board, and I'll have it lowered again. Now, I know some of you guys is mother, and some of you is grandmother, and you know what they'd say when you go home tonight? Shame on you guys. Shame on you, because you know what's right, and you know what's wrong, and to let dogs destroy two people's lives that are elderly and with health problems, shame on you.
I'm aware that the county manager has looked into this to some extent. Ira, would you care to comment?
Yes, I have begun investigating with this and have worked with Doyle Teague, who's serving in the interim with Animal Services, and contacted the owner of the Duke's Pampered Pets next door. And we will continue looking into the matter and see if there are any violations of any ordinances or anything going on.
Okay.
I just want to say, any of you are free to come to my house and sit on my bed and listen to what we listen to every day, all day long.
So you're going to contact the folks at Duke's
Yes.
and talk to them? Okay. Jip, do you have any observations regarding the noise ordinance? I think that'd be the only ordinance that would have any.
Well, of course, we have a noise ordinance that does cover dogs, and there have been prosecutions under that ordinance, and there have been convictions under that ordinance. More often than not, there were not convictions. However, in the case that they're talking about, it was dismissed. There were two cases that the West were involved with that were dismissed. The court system dealt with it. I don't know whether we can strengthen our ordinance or not. We could certainly take a look at that and see, but it's a pretty strong ordinance, but it is difficult to convict under this ordinance because there's a lot of very subjective standards like reasonableness and that sort of thing. And then also if the use of the property, and of course I say it's a noise ordinance, it's not strictly animals or dogs, it's all kinds of noises. And it has to be unreasonably loud, disturbing, raucous, and unnecessary. And then it must annoy a person of reasonable a reasonable person of normal sensibilities. Well, that part's not difficult. But when you get into unnecessary, and then you have a use like this that some would say is necessary, and we have no zoning in the county, it becomes very difficult.
Have any comments?
I think that's probably the key issues. One of the last words that Chip brought up was the fact that we have no zoning in the county. And I'm certainly not a proponent of zoning in the county. I've been doing this long enough. You don't say that word in Haywood County, but, and we've had some of these issues before regarding the use of people's property. And the only way we as county commissioners could regulate the people's use of their property is by passing zoning ordinances on what you can do with your property in the county. And we have not done that because we may have one person here today complaining about this particular situation, but if we announce that we were even looking into possibly zoning in the county, there would be signs up all over the county saying no zoning, and this place would be full of people. I understand your concerns, and I'm very sorry about that. I didn't know about Dukes. I didn't even know there was such a thing as Dukes, honestly. But there are civil remedies for you but unfortunately, there's things that we can and cannot do, and I know that that's not the answer that you want to hear. But that's unfortunate, and I think that Chip would probably agree with me on that.
Yes,
as well.
I mean, the ordinance, just like the violation, in fact, there's a specific provision about noise ordinances, the violation of which is a class 3 misdemeanor. Also, the offended property owner can bring a civil action and seek injunctive relief. But all we can do is pass ordinances. It's up to the court system after that.
All right.
Well, Ira, if you would continue your research, perhaps mediation would be something that could be considered between the parties, and maybe there's some sort of solution that is possible through mediation. I don't know.
I believe they've been to mediation, but I will continue researching as part of that court case. I believe Mr. West advised me they did go to mediation. I may be mistaken on that, but I'll triple check and make sure that there are no remedies that I couldn't possibly help work through with them.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments?
I just want to say that I know zoning and all that, but I gave you a sheet on conventional use permits. This was formed in Polk County. This county may look at it.
We will look at it.
Seriously?
I will.
I mean, it's too late for me and my property, but it might save your property.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else who would care to address the board? Okay. If not, we'll close the public comment session and move to constituent concerns. Michael?
No.
Evan?
No, I just want to, I do want to touch on Ron DeSimone, and Ron was a good friend of the county. He's very professional. He's very professional as mayor of Maggie Valley. He's very professional as a builder. I knew Ron before he was ever ran for mayor. I mean, he was, he was always, he was a person who wanted to make the county better, and he always had, if he had criticism, it was constructive criticism, and he had a solution, which was refreshing, and he had ways that we could do to help our county, and I just appreciate him and his family, and I'm very saddened by what happened, and I know my family's praying for him, for his family and everything, but I just wanted to honor him and wanted to say something. And it's always good when people, serve in the public for the public good, and he never got anything out of it for himself. He was always looking for what was best for Haywood County, not what was best for Maggie Valley, but what was best for for Haywood County, and tried to, he didn't try to, a lot of times people have turf battles over who gets what and all that, but he was always, I just remember that. It was like I said, it was refreshing to hear him say that, I'm looking out, I want to do what's best for Haywood County because what's best for Maggie Valley is going to be what's best for Haywood County and vice versa. And he wanted to be a partner, and that's what we all wanted to do is build partnerships to try to, make the county a better place to live. So I just wanted to say something about him tonight and honor him.
Thank you. Kirk?
Yeah, I would certainly reiterate that. I mean, I knew Ron fairly well, and he always attempted to try to look at all the facts, and he also tried to do what was right for himself, but for other people. I mean, he considered the impact of other people, and he did that for his town as well as the entire county. And in his business, he did that. And he always wanted to follow and comply with the rules and regulations every time I dealt with him. And it was easy to deal with, Unfortunately, nowadays, not everybody's as easy to deal with as they used to be, and I don't know why that is, but he was. And also, when you have a death like that, when Ron woke up Friday morning, he didn't know. And he had no idea. And I think we all should really think about that in the way we live our lives every day and what we do for others and what we're going to be remembered by. And fortunately, Ron is going to be remembered well. And he'll be sorely missed.
Yeah, I was just thinking, our family was thinking, anytime you lose somebody by an accident, where 62 for me is a young age. Didn't used to be, but it is now. And Kurt was right. When he got up that morning, you know, he didn't know he would not be there that night or the next day. And he always had a smile on his face, always friendly. He loved to be around people. And I guess the group I feel sorry for now is his family having to replace such a loss. So, we're going to suffer here in Haywood County, Maggie, the leadership, and it's going to be tough filling his shoes.
I know we all plan to attend his service tomorrow here in Waynesville. So, okay. That concludes our constituent concerns. We'll move now to administrative and agency reports. We have our annual overview with SETBACK Corporation on operations at the White Oak landfill. The expanded management agreement has been implemented, and we will get the update from them. First, I'll recognize David Francis.
Good evening, Commissioners. I appreciate the somber words for Mayor Ron DeSimone. He was a good friend and a good person for all of Haywood County. Thanks for your kind words. As you know, we've had an ongoing dialogue with solid waste basically all of 2015. And just to give an overview, the last few meetings have been about Francis Farm. This meeting is about the White Oak landfill. As you may remember, in 2009, we sent a request for proposal out to somebody to manage the landfill in hopes of moving towards expanded management. We went through that review process in 2010, went through an extensive overview and application and review with the applicants at that time. SETBACK came out far and ahead of all the other ones that applied for this. And we've had a good working relationship with SETBACK. They have been very conscientious of every time that we have called with our concerns, things that we had questions about. They've been very diligent and with listening into anything that we've said, and have educated me very well here the last few months, assuming the position I have. So since 2011, they took over management of the landfill in December of 2011, and they managed that as part of the county function. The county still had oversight, but they managed that, the landfill on a daily basis. In May of 2014, they did expanded management. And what expanded management is they took over the entire operation of the landfill, not on a daily basis, but for every day and then henceforth. The landfill, the closure and post-closure of the landfill became their responsibility once expanded management was enacted as part of the contract. So the issues that we're having at Francis Farm, you know, because we have an unlined landfill there, the White Oak landfill is lined, and those issues of closure and post-closure are SETBACK's responsibility due to expanded management. There are in the contract several different performance and security measures and bonds there. The county is well protected in the event of any matter that may happen. There's environmental, workers' comp, liability, you know, and performance bonds. So it's a very well constructed contract. As you all know, we worked on it for over a year to get this thing right, and I think the benefits since expanded management has taken place is showing as well now too. So I have with us today is Matt Dillard, SETBACK Executive Vice President, Cheryl Dunstan, SETBACK Executive Vice President of Marketing, Ron Bell, Vice President of Engineering, and John Preston, the Landfill Manager at White Oak.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon, Cheryl.
It's good to be with you today. As Mr. Francis indicated, we do have a couple of representatives here. Ron Vale is going to actually cover the engineering issues that we're going to talk to you about today, and I'm going to talk to you about the operations of the landfill. As Mr. Francis explained, we've been managing the landfill sort of like a cut and cover operation since December of 2011 until we could secure enough waste volume to go to the expanded management agreement. And it took us a couple of months, a year or so, to get to that. And right around May of last year, we'd secured the waste volume that we needed to feel comfortable to assume operation of all of the things that are responsible for the inside the gate. And that includes the closure, the post-closure, the construction, all the big ticket items that you guys were wanting to kind of put on somebody else and shed that liability. We want to kind of bring you up to date on where we're at. We do have some cell construction scheduled for 2017, and so in preparation for that, we're currently excavating soil from phases 4 and 5, which is approximately 14.3 acres, and it's about 175,000 cubic yards of soil that has to be removed for the construction of the next cell. We've also installed a new on-site fuel tank with secondary containment, so that has been put in place. We received an inspection from the North Carolina Department of Environment and Natural Resources on March the 18th, and at that time it was noted that we had an erosion issue due to a major rain event of 2.3 inches. What the state required us to do was to submit some soil samples, which we did, and at that time they deemed us to be in compliance. So we pride ourselves on running a good facility, but every once in a while we'll have an issue. Since the expanded management agreement, we have returned $114,338 to Haywood County in host fees, and I think that's revenue that you guys can put back in your coffers and determine what you want to do with that. We hope to continue that trend every year. We value our partnership with Haywood County. We currently partner with 12 local governments in 9 states. And we've always had good working relationships with our local governments. And if we have left a facility due to its closing, we've left on good terms. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ron, and he will talk about some of the engineering issues.
I appreciate you guys giving us time to come up here and give you an update. I want to go over 4 or 5 bullet points here. First, I'd like to let you know that the aerial, every year we do an aerial topography of the landfill so that we can see the life left in the landfill, not only permittable life, but also constructible life. That way, because obviously with the expanded management, we have construction, so we need to get ready for that, as Cheryl mentioned. But as of the May 4th, 2015 aerial, it indicates we've got about 30.2 years of life out at the landfill. Obviously, when that 30.2 years is up, there'll be a closure and post-closure event that you guys are aware of with the Francis Farm landfill that is Santec's responsibility. We do have bonds in place and environmental insurance in place to cover that in the event that Santec didn't cover it, but obviously that is our responsibility and we will take care of that liability. Also, we'll begin on the phase 4 and 5, the 14.3 acres that Cheryl mentioned. We'll begin drilling out at the landfill. As you guys are probably aware, there's a 5-year permit that has to occur. They expire in North Carolina. That's not the same in all states, but it is in North Carolina. And we'll begin drilling the last week of July is what that's slated for. It's about a 2-year long process or less, and we'll put those wells in, and that's our next permitting event for phases 4 and 5 to do that construction. We've contracted with BLE, who you guys I think also use and are aware of, to do that work for us. We are also in the completing the annual capacity report for Haywood County. That is a state required report. We submit that to David Francis and to Diener. And it's just the capacity of phases 1 through 3, which is where we are currently filling now. Phases 1, 2, and 3 have been constructed. There's approximately 7 phases out at the landfill, and those will be constructed in future years. We will also complete the annual report for Diener as well and submit that. The groundwater, stormwater, and methane sampling is being done on a quarterly and semi-annual basis, and it's being done in accordance with the regulations and being submitted with copies coming to the county as well. With that said, I appreciate your time. If you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
Just some comments there. I think you've answered a lot of those questions. I know that, when you all took or assumed, not the expanded management, but come in, we contracted with you, we were looking at a guarantee of 30 years. We're 4 or 5 years into that already, and we're still looking at 30 years, which I think is a very good thing. I think it shows that this is working, and I hope that this gets out into the public, and so they, we can continue to emphasize that this landfill is going to be here and going to last for a long time, and Haywood County has, a place to put their garbage. That was the intent of this agreement, along with relieving the liability that we would be faced with closure and post-closure. There is, in which I've been real involved with you all for the last couple of years with this thing down there with you, talking with you, and, you've heard some of the concerns that I've had, that I hear. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and that was one of the reasons that all along back in November and all, I suggested that we do this at the end of each year and kind of give a state of the union on how things are going. And so now we've completed the first year in expanded management, and it appears everything is working well. We have actually life at the landfill that we started with in 2011, so that is good news too. And I hope that we continue to get this out into the public. And I know there's been a few issues out there, small issues. You talked about the little violation deal, but when you're dealing with that magnitude of fresh dirt, fresh grading, and lots of water, lots of rainfall, you're going to have that. I know that when you drive up White Oak and you look at the entrance, it is now looks more like you wouldn't know it's a landfill out there, and it's a big change from what it used to be. I happen to be on that end of the county, so I hear a lot and watch a lot, and I appreciate you all and getting to know John and the people that works out there and everything, and been very good with information back and forth. And if there is issues, we've been well informed, and we've had monthly meetings, and so I appreciate everything. Thank you.
I just wanted to comment, and I appreciate that we still got 30 years of life left in the landfill, so that's great. That's great news to hear. And in talking about the rain, I was just sitting here thinking, the northwest end of the county, it's like when the weather comes from Tennessee, it like rings it out right there. So you guys probably deal with more rain there than we do in Waynesville. In fact, I know we do, because I have to monitor radar all the time because we work outside, so we're always monitoring the weather, and I always notice that when the rain comes in, it kind of rings out around the Fines Creek, White Oak area. And so for y'all to only have one issue with Diener over soil, that's remarkable, really. I mean, knowing the terrain like I do in the county. So I appreciate all your all's work and making this really work well for us. Thank you.
I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
Well, I thank you as well. I know the landfill business is a dirty business, and
But somebody's got to do it.
somebody's got to do it. And issues with dirt in the road and those kinds of things have been virtually eliminated now. And I'm down there often, as John knows, and looking around with Michael, we have frequent meetings down there. So I'm pleased with the progress, and I'm pleased with the life of the landfill being over 30 years still. That's critical. So, thank you.
Yeah, and one other thing, I do want the public to know that, when we do have concerns that's brought up about you know, the landfill or whatever, I can assure you that I have addressed them, and you all have been very, very open and informative on making sure that whether it was something that needed to be corrected or just flat misinformation. So I appreciate that very much.
David just wanted me to mention one thing. I know there's been some speculation because of the third party that contracts with Waste Management brings in the volume to Haywood County. They have out-of-state license plate tags. We want to assure you that there's no out-of-state waste coming in, that the volume, the majority of that volume comes from Buncombe County, Asheville, Waste Management. They contract with a third party to bring that waste in, and that third party is an out-of-state company. But all of the volume is coming from Waste Management on those trailers located in Asheville. So I wanted to clarify that. Okay.
All right, any other comments?
You know, I was just thinking, Syntec has proven they can be more efficient than we were. And that doesn't hurt our feelings any, that they can do the job better. They've been doing it so long and have learned from your mistakes, I guess.
Sure. We've been at it 28 years, and we currently manage 17 landfills in 9 different states. But we value our partnership with Haywood County very much.
You know, and I think as a citizen, all you had to do was go out there or do a before and after, and you can really tell the difference. And I made that comment about the front area looking good, but not only that, but up on the face of the landfill. I can remember when I first come on the board, we were having real issues with problems up there on the face. We don't have those issues now. So
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any adjustment to the agenda today?
Mark? No. I thought David had something.
David, did you have something else to say?
No, go ahead.
Okay. Okay, we'll move to the consent agenda. We've had the opportunity to review the June 15, 2015 regular meeting minutes. Are there any changes to those? If not, we'll move to David Francis for presentation on refunds, releases, amendments, and discoveries.
Commissioners, before you is the business of releases and refunds. As you can see, it was a pretty light month for the month of June. Nothing out of the ordinary to report.
Okay. Any questions for David? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll move next to our tax collector, Mike Matthews. Good evening, Mike.
Good evening, Commissioners. But we have closed out our 2014-15 fiscal year. We finished at, well, first off, when we sat down originally, when I came in and sat down with everybody, we talked about matching what we did or what was done last year, and that was going to be our goal. We did that, and then we kind of set our own little individual office goal for us that we had together, and we met that. We finished at 97.23%. That's up about 0.4 of a point from last year. As far as our delinquent property taxes go, we finished at 1.24, about 1.24 million for the year, for the 2014 and 15 year.
You know how many dollars are owed Haywood County in delinquent taxes? That may be an unfair question because I didn't give you advance warning. I'm just curious.
Well, let's see. I do not offhand.
Okay.
I know we collect, no, I don't, but I can get that for you.
Okay, maybe next meeting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And again, that was
Make a note of
unfair to
that.
probably spring that on you. Sorry.
Then we're still, I mean, the way, and I know there's been some confusion about how the delinquent taxes work and where the number changes. We've been running what we thought was about 200,000 behind each month. We've closed that gap to about 33,000, but it's still not necessarily that we're behind because like this year we've had a really good year. So next year our delinquent collections should go down because there's not as much left over from this year to collect from. Last year they had a good year, so that should go down because there wasn't enough money, as much money left there to collect. So the pool gets smaller each year.
Right. Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Are the motor vehicle delinquents, I noticed those weren't listed. Do you have any idea what those are?
That I have no idea either. These are without motor vehicle. because we don't have anything to do with we don't collect the motor vehicles anymore.
Motor vehicles?
No.
But I mean, like the past motor vehicles, we're still trying to collect those, right?
Yeah, we'll collect the past dues. That, I'm sure we can run a report for that too, as well.
Yeah, because I know the state has collect them, just for the public, I think the state
Right.
started to collect them either last year or year before last.
Right.
So we don't have to worry about that anymore. And now, but we still have the delinquent motor vehicles from,
Yeah.
before that,
Yeah.
that we need to try
See
to
if we can run a
collect,
report on
so.
that as well. I mean, it's all
Yeah.
included in our collections that we're doing, the phone calls or the collections that
Right,
we're making,
right.
but I'll find out what that number is.
Yeah, it'd be good if we could have like a section where other than motor vehicles, that's good because that's kind of a apples to oranges, but if we knew what the motor vehicle delinquencies were, that would be good.
Absolutely, because we left in the delinquent the sheet that you're looking at with the delinquent properties. Now we pulled motor vehicles out of both of those numbers. So
Right.
we're not trying to compare one
Right.
without one to one
Yeah,
with. So,
because you really can't compare them anymore because the state's collecting.
Right,
them.
right.
But we do have that delinquent that I'd like, we
Sure.
need to try to get collected.
Sure.
Because
are-
it is people have owed, I like for people to pay their fair share. I know, when just in the past, I used to always be kind of, I always like to, give everybody the benefit of the doubt, but whenever, when other people are having to pay more because people aren't paying what
Right.
they're supposed to, I kind of I think most people want to see that eliminated to where it's a level playing
Right.
field.
And the good thing about that is, though, you can't get a tag until you pay them. So we do kind of
Right.
have that there, so.
Okay.
Yeah, and actual numbers sometimes year to year, you've got a growth factor.
Right.
The base grows.
Yeah.
So with the exact same percent of collection, the dollars should be higher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it should be increasing instead of decreasing, so, yeah.
What should be increasing?
Well, the delinquents, it's 33, we're down 33,000, and really that should increase a little bit every year,
Right.
because, it should be. I mean, as your tax base grows, there should always be a little bit of growth, unless you're in a recession like we were from '09 to '13 probably, but it's starting to grow now. so.
That depends, what we do in our current year, though. That's not necessarily the case. So depending on what we do this year is going to base next year as far as
Right.
what we were able to collect in our current year. If we were to go down to 50% collection rate this year, then our delinquency numbers would skyrocket what we have collected because we had left so much on the table to collect. So the more we collect now, the less that's there for us to collect next year.
Right.
Is basically how that's working.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Bill? Kurt?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, next we have Carmen Rocco with us, Public Health Services Division Director. Carmen, welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, Commissioners. I wanted to request the approval of two fees to begin with in the consent agenda. The approval of fee increase from $51 to $57 for a 2-hour glucose tolerance test for prenatal clients. And second, the approval of adult health fees due to coding changes at the state level. These coding fees will be applied using a sliding fee scale. And there was additional information that was provided to give us more information about the regional charges that other health departments or other health services are providing these services at what cost, as a matter of background information, in case there are questions about that.
State often makes coding changes with very little input from local boards of health, is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Any questions of Carmen? Okay. Thank you. All right, then we'll move to Julie Davis for the fifth item of the consent agenda with the North Carolina Forest Services Agreement. Welcome.
Good evening. What you have in front of you is a contract with the North Carolina Forest Service that with the county, we share in the costs for providing those services in Haywood County. This year, their total budget is $246,383. The county pays 40% and the state pays 60%. So the amount that is in that contract for the county is $98,553, which is the amount we have budgeted.
That's the maximum amount that Haywood would be liable for based on the
Yes, it is the
resolution.
maximum amount, and they don't always meet that maximum. It depends on the number of forest fires they have throughout the year and how often they're called out.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of Julie? Okay, thank you. Any observations or questions on the consent agenda? Hearing none, to entertain a motion that the consent agenda as presented be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we'll move to old business. Recognize Dale Burris, Facilities and Maintenance Director, regarding the emergency services plan developed by Paget and Freeman Architects.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
I know it's been a while since we actually went over this project as you see it today. There we go. Now we can see it. Sorry. We've basically what we set up is the actual overall site plan that you'll see with the Haywood Pathway Center on your first page as designed by Paget and Freeman. Now, these are all schematic. Everything is basically laid out to where it works with emergency services and EMS. Now, the last time I was here, we had talked about removing the original dormitory that was up there, and the board asked me to bring this, that was at a work session, asked me to bring something to show what it would look like without that building being there, and carefully evaluate what that old building would actually cost to bring it up to today's standards. The cost is actually astronomical for what it would cost to actually bring it up to, you know, the codes that we live by today, or we have to stand by today. So basically what you've got in front of you, on the second page you see the elevation, and this elevation, just to be sensible about it, is this is, if you pull in the Sheriff's Drive, that's what you would actually be seeing as you turn off of Brown Avenue on the Sheriff's Drive. That would be the five bays in front of you. The first bays that you see is actually the EMS bays, and then the rear portion of that is for emergency management. So the front portion is administrative area. The next slide shows this is actually the back side from looking from Haywood Pathways towards the back side of the building. The elevations actually works out very well in that area. So we're able to get everything as of today that EMS and emergency management needs to operate. And I do say as of today. Next page is actually a floor plan. Now, the teal green that's at the upper section of this, that is administrative areas. And then, of course, you've got your EMS truck bays, TAC 1 bays, everything following that. And then at the back end of the building, which is on the right-hand side of the screen, is actually the emergency management storage bays. And then the last page you've got is basically just a schematic drawing showing what the elevations would look like and the simple height of the walls, how high the actual walls will be in the gables of the building. And I didn't turn to that. I'm not very good with PowerPoint, so I apologize. So I bring this back for your approval to move forward. We, to finish up schematic design, because before we submit a set of plans to the Town of Waynesville Development Services, I don't want to move forward with the architect until we actually have approval from the commissioners to move forward with this design and the remainder removal of those old buildings.
Any questions or comments of Dale?
I guess everybody, Jim and Greg, everybody's in approve. Approves this.
Jim Presley and Greg Shupin both are here tonight, and they did review this, but I don't want to speak for them if they'd like to get up and speak for themselves about the building.
Well, I would assume they'd be making some gestures from the back if they didn't.
I can't see them back there, though.
Okay.
They both have relayed that to me, yes, that
So,
they are
and
very
you're-
happy with
and
the
you're,
design.
in favor of this as well, Ira?
Yes, as they are both signing off and happy, and I think the design will be fine. And I'm particularly in favor of the area where we'll take out the other building and maintaining that for future expansion for the county if you need it. This meets our current needs. It'll meet our future needs that we anticipate, but it also will give you the county expansion room into what used to be the 1931 area for the same cost. That would be a high cost to try and upfit it now, and who knows what future needs there would be for the county, but it can be anticipated they may need that down the road.
I mean, I guess we're still looking at the cost is basically where we're hoping it's going to be.
Well, right now, our costs are still remaining fairly in the $2 million range, which that's what we're looking at, from 1 3/4 to 2 million. Based on what, I think it's basically based right now on how busy the contractors are.
Mhm.
I'm sure Mr. Ainsley can agree to this. With the busier the contractors begin to be, the higher the prices go. That I feel that if we can get this out to bid sometime in August, late August, that's going to be whenever some of the larger projects that's going on now is going to be starting to slow down. Plus, we'll have, of course, another project, the EOC project, going out to bid as well, right around that same time. So we're going to have two projects within close proximity. And that does, as I'm also a contractor too, but that does make you really go for these really hard whenever there's two within close proximity that you don't have a lot of drive time involved in it. A lot of really good contractors, local contractors are very busy right now, which is good. I mean, that's good for the economy, that's good for Haywood County. But the work is scattered from Haywood, Buncombe, Henderson, and Jackson County right now. One thing that I did forget to mention on this first screen, actually, we are being able to maintain an additional green space up there on the whole site, which I think is just as important as adding a building, has been able to maintain some green space for lawns and so forth. So, I think with this design, they're able to get the parking in, but they're also able to keep some green space in to make it look more like rather than just a flat-out government building sitting there with a bunch of garage doors, to have some actual green space with grass around it.
The area that, we're going to potentially have for some additional usage or expansion, how big is that?
Well, it's going to be based on if we could, the way the end of the building, the plan north, the north end of the building would actually allow us to grow another 4,500 square feet.
Yeah, but I guess what I was talking about, that area where we talked, you could put some kind of freestanding type facility there. That's what I was
It just has to meet the fire rating. That's, it's according on what the proximity is between the other buildings, and it just have to meet the fire rating.
So potential would be there for some other, if down the road in the future we had a need for some other kind of a facility or whatever. Depending on the size or whatever it was, it would be possible to go in.
That's correct. Opening this space up is going to actually allow for that future expansion growth.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, then hearing none, would entertain a motion that the EMS conceptual design as presented be approved and that it thereafter be forwarded to the town of Waynesville for their review.
So move.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale. Okay, next is Ira Dove with a request for a temporary road interference permit for the Blue Ridge Breakaway event.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, standing in for the Haywood County Chamber of Commerce. They are having their annual Blue Ridge Breakaway, second week in August. They've done this for 5 years. They're going to bring in about 400 cyclists to Haywood County. This event is running now. DOT requires a special permit that the local government, simply you're saying that you would approve for that day.
And we have approved this in the past 4 years, I believe, or 5?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Anybody have any questions, comments about the permit? Okay, if not, entertain a motion that the interference permit and a temporary lane closure for the Blue Ridge Breakaway event on August 15th be approved and forwarded to the Department of Transportation. So move. Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Just a little comment on that. That's getting to be quite a big event for Haywood County. It brings a lot of people in. A lot of people spend the weekend riding, and it has attracted people. That's first-time people in here, and then, you know, they're able to, they come back. They keep coming back and visiting. Yes.
Oh, yes, this event has grown significantly in the last 5 years. It's a lot of people love this particular route that they've chosen in this bike ride.
Okay. Thank you, Ira.
Thank you.
Okay, we will return now to our Health Director, Carmen Rocco.
Hello again. Thank you. This request is for approval of a proposed fee increase for Skyla IUD, stands for intrauterine device, from $750 to $811. This is a contraceptive device that is used in our clinic, and the Board of Health and Human Services previously approved this fee increase to be recommended to the Board of Commissioners back on May 19th, 2015.
And this is due to an increase in cost?
Correct.
Yep. Okay.
Who pays the fee? Who pays the $750 to $811?
It could be any of the, whether it's a private pay person, usually there's sliding fee scales applied. Many people don't pay that amount. Could be a third-party insurance, could be Medicaid.
Any other questions? Okay, then we entertain a motion that the proposed fee increase as described be approved.
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move to the Sheriff's Office. We have Chief Jeff Haynes with us for a recommended bid from Wise Communication for workstation furniture for the 911 Center. Welcome, Jeff.
Good evening, Commissioners. We are requesting approval for a recommended bid from Wise Communications and Eaton Furniture for the workstation furniture to be placed in the new 911 center at the price of $137,988.01 to be paid for out of the North Carolina 911 grant monies that we have already been given at this point.
And I noticed in your explanation that Wise was not the low bidder, but there were some others that were eliminated for noncompliance with the bidding procedures.
That is correct. Actually, Zybex Corporation was the lowest bidder, but they didn't comply with a lot of the requirements that we had placed in the RFP. To go into detail, there's a number of different issues that they didn't meet, but through pages 8 through 17 in the RFP, specific requirements to include general equipment, installation, and training, they could not comply with.
Okay, so Wise was the lowest responsive bid?
Yes, that is correct, sir.
Any questions there? Comments? Okay, then we'd entertain a motion that the lowest responsive bid submitted by Wise Communications / Eaton for workstation furniture for the 911 Center be approved.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's It's unanimous. We'll stay with Jeff for adoption of a resolution for a retired service canine.
And thank you very much once again. We're requesting the adoption of a resolution for authorization of disposition of a retired service canine to the trained handler. And I've got a copy of the resolution based upon North Carolina General Statute 160A-265, which authorizes this board to dispose of surplus property. Whereas the Haywood County Sheriff's Office currently has in its possession a retired patrol narcotics detection canine by the name of Abel, asset number 2753, which was purchased on the 3rd day of October 2008, is no longer in service. And whereas once a retired service canine is no longer in service nor able to conduct county business per financial considerations, indicating the interests of the county be best served by disposing of the retired canine. Whereas the Haywood County Board of Commissioners authorizes the disposition of retired service canine to the trained handler upon the handler's agreement to purchase the amount for the amount of $1 and accept custody of and assuming all liability and responsibility for the care for the remainder of the retired service canine's life. And whereas the handler accepting custody of retired service canine will complete the transfer of ownership of surplus retired sheriff's office canine form, which states assumption of all liability and responsibility for the remainder of the canine's life. Whereas Doug Carver is the sheriff's office canine handler trained and equipped to care for Abel, the canine, a retired service dog, who assumes all liability and responsibility for the remainder of the dog's life. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Haywood County Board of Commissioners in general session on 20 July 2015 hereby adopts a policy to allow the retired service canine to be sold to the handler for the amount of $1, who therefore accepts responsibility or custody of the assuming all liability and responsibility for the care for the remainder of the retired service canine's life. Be it further resolved, the Haywood County Board of Commissioners in general session on June 15, 2015 declares Abel, the retired service canine, as surplus and authorizes the sale for the amount of $1 to Doug Carver of the Haywood County Sheriff's Office canine handler.
All right, any comments or questions?
Jeff, what's the work life of a canine? Yeah.
Typically, the work life is about 7 to 9 years, depending on
That's
what
a long time.
That is a long time, but unfortunately, this particular dog, in the service that he had provided to the county, actually had fallen with an inoperable degenerative eye disease and basically has gone blind as one of the issues.
Wow.
And that has caused a problem, and hence the retirement.
The resolution that you read, Jeff, is different than the one that we have in our packet. I just want to make sure, it doesn't really matter. They both, say about the same thing. I just want to make sure we approve whichever one we need to approve.
I would approve the one in the packet. There were some technical corrections.
Okay.
My apologies.
I would
That's
approve
all
the
right.
one in the
It's
packet.
no big
There were
deal. I
some
just want to make
technical
sure we
corrections.
get the right one.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
The as presented then. The
As in the
everybody's
packet.
talking over everybody else.
I would approve the one in the packet.
Okay, all right. Any other questions or comments?
So I commend Mr. Carver for taking the responsibility of the animal. At least he'll be able to live out the rest of his life.
Absolutely. Well, these dogs become partners, and they also become family members because they live with the family 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, not only during work hours. So become very endeared to one another.
Okay, then we'll entertain a motion that we adopt the resolution in our board packet regarding the disposition of retired service canine to its handler.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, we have David Francis, Solid Waste Tax Administrator, for seeking approval for the purchase of the Mooney Cove Convenience Center site. David?
Thank you, Commissioners. As we've been discussing for several years about purchasing convenience center sites that we'll be using, as it became very evident that Mooney Cove was one of the most important and paramount purchases that we make. A traffic study was done a couple of years ago. We found out that over 250,000 patrons use this site each year. is by far our busiest site. So being able to purchase the site and that we'll be able to control the convenience center for many, many years. There is room for growth there. We will plan on expanding the site in the next year. We've went through certain criteria seeking approval from the Department of Transportation, the town of Waynesville, looking at the engineering of that. Dale Burris was very instrumental in helping me through all the hoops and hurdles that we had to jump through that. And so I would recommend that we go ahead and proceed with the purchase of the Mooney Cove Convenience Center site.
I think over time, it will be a wise financial investment. You don't want to put a lot of money into a site with sophisticated equipment and then lose your lease, especially if it's the busiest site in the county. So I think it's a smart move. Anyone have any questions or comments?
I use it a lot. Great location. People really don't realize it's there if they haven't used it, kind of hidden away.
Well, that and the trouble we have had and are having locating sites. The 209 site is dangerous. We all know that, and we have been unable to find a site to this point. So I think to keep what we've got when it's probably one of the best ones in the county is a very wise thing to do. But. Any other questions or comments? Chip, you've looked over and
Yes, I
over.
have.
Okay.
I worked with David on it. I think it's fine.
Okay. Okay, if there's no further comments, then I would request approval to approve the contract for purchase of the Mooney Cove Convenience Center site located at 30 Mooney Cove Road, Waynesville, parcel number 8616394150 for the purchase price of $150,000.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we'll continue with David for a multi-year contract with RS&M Appraisal Services for appraisals of commercial property.
Thank you. The 2017 reval has begun in earnest. We started back earlier this month reviewing issues that we thought that we had from 2011, working on hotspots to make the reval better. And who was very instrumental in helping us in the 2000 reval was Ron McCarthy. He worked with the county beginning in 2009 for the 2011 reval. As you know, we did a major overhaul and restructure at that time for the reevaluation, and we brought in neighborhood delineation. We did a very good job of bringing the reevaluation down to a much truer number and localized it more than what it was in area-wise before. So what's very different about this is the last contract was nearly $200,000 at that time. This contract basically is, again, looking over the commercial properties in Haywood County. The cost of that is $41,250. And then other consulting aspects for the reval of just general services, about $40,000 for a global contract of $103,000. Ron was willing to come back and help us again, and I wholeheartedly recommend this contract again because he was very instrumental, and I've learned a lot from Ron over the years on appraising, and our whole staff has learned a lot. He's been in the business over 30 years, and so it's been very beneficial for us and the county. So the first part of the contract will only use about $28,000 to $29,000 of the 2015-16 year, and then the rest of it will be 16 to 17 year.
Okay. Chip, you've looked at this?
Yes, I have, and it's fine too.
Okay. Yeah, I worked with Ron as well on the Board of Equalization, and he's very professional and very well qualified.
Yeah.
So, any questions or comments on the contract? And he'll be also preparing the schedule of values, which is...
That's correct.
Which is the Bible that we all go by for values.
And as you see in there's a lot of data gathering. He works with the builders and the home supply stores about, finding the cost data as well, and that goes into the factors of the schedule values.
Okay. Well, for no further comments, then would request approval of a multi-year contract for RS&M Appraisal Services. It would run from July 2015 to June 2017 for the appraisal of all commercial properties, consulting, and writing of the schedule of values. Contract amounts $103,000. Would entertain that motion. Second.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we'll stay with David for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. For the half-hour comedy hour.
Right, we have a series of contracts with McGill Engineering for ongoing services at the Francis Farm landfill and White Oak landfill. And to save me going back and forth, you've reviewed all of these
Yes, I have.
contracts, Chip? Okay, as well as the BLE contracts in the following agenda
Yes, the
item?
BLE is right.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and do item 7 then, David.
Okay. The two items are a little bit intertwined. Both of the items have Francis Farm in there. There's, for McGill, there's a $25,000 contract in there for technical services, which is just their guidance throughout the year. The permit boundary modification is that, as you know, that we purchased the boundary properties surrounding Francis Farm. They'll prepare the documents that go to North Carolina Department of Environmental and Natural Resources for the boundary movement from where presently the landfill boundaries are to over to the Lewis property, to the Shelton property, to the Stevens property. And what this boundary extension will do is part of the next, on the BLE, is we're going to move the methane monitoring wells over there to that boundary, which will bring us into compliance at that part. So they are going to do the permit modification to submit to DENR for that. And then as part of our due diligence, as you heard Santec speak earlier this evening, as part of the county's due diligence, we're also requesting, a third-party review the life of the landfill as well, too. As you know, as being the contracted administration over this, I think that it's very prudent on our part not just to, take, that, okay, they got 30.2 years of life. Let's also verify independently those numbers as well. So I'm requesting that capacity study that McGill complete that as well for us, too.
Okay, any questions or observations?
On that White Oak landfill capacity study, what are the anticipations, how long it'll be?
I'm sorry, sir?
How long will it be before they'll have it?
I think with approval tonight, I think it's about 60 days. Yeah. So it's also it involves another flyover and some surveying and some other data gathering as well, too. So,
Any other questions? Okay, if not, then we'd entertain a motion for approval of 3 contracts with McGill Engineering for services at Francis Farm Landfill and White Oak Landfill, specifically a contract for technical guidance, $25,000, contract for permit boundary modification, $30,000, and a contract for the White Oak Landfill capacity study, $14,300. Entertain that motion.
So move.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Okay, David, number 8.
Brunel Lammons has been the engineer of record and hydrologist for the county since 2009. We've been using them at Francis Farm and had been working with them out at White Oak as well. And part of the plan for Francis Farm, as I previously mentioned, was moving those wells. And so the larger ticket item in there is well abandonment and installation of $64,700, water quality monitoring plan, statistical analysis of the groundwater, and the landfill gas monitoring plan. Well, these will all be tied back into the permit modification as well. So what we are planning on doing is abandoning 8 groundwater wells, which have found that are with the new cap that will be coming online that we're starting to work on now, will be covered up. The DENR has given us permission to go ahead and abandon those wells. And then 10 landfill gas monitoring wells will be abandoned, and 10 new landfill gas monitoring wells will be installed back over there to the new boundary line once the permit and everything has been approved.
So the ones closer in will be abandoned and we'll go to land that we purchased.
Mm-hmm.
To set new ones?
That's correct. Because if you remember, where the gas monitoring wells are right now are sitting right on top of waste. And, you know, we have those exceedances that we talked about the last time, the lower
Right.
explosive limits. All those wells have exceeded through there, and they're right on the property line. So we'll be moving those out to the new boundary line, which will be closer to the Raccoon Creek through there.
And that would show that the migration is all within the boundary and the confines of county property.
That would be
which
correct.
make us in compliance.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. And any questions or observations on these? Okay, then would entertain a motion to approve 4 contracts with BLE for services at Francis Farm Landfill. First, a contract for well abandonment and installation. Secondly, a contract for water quality monitoring plan. Thirdly, a contract for statistical analysis of groundwater. And last, a contract for landfill gas monitoring plan. Would entertain that motion. Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. We'll move next to the county manager for a donation to the Commission for a Clean County.
Yes, the Commission for a Clean County has requested $1,000. I know Commissioner Upton has been very active with this organization. They do litter pickups, they do education in the school systems to reduce litter, and I believe most of the money, a lot of the money is used on those educational programs and those pickups.
And this is an annual contribution that we've made now for how many years, Bill? Probably
Many, many years.
10
so.
years. I think Mary Ann Enlow was on the board when that was first started, if I'm not mistaken. So would entertain a motion to donate $1,000 for litter pickup in Haywood County to the Commission for a Clean County.
So move.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. We'll continue with the county manager for a voting delegate to the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners. Ira?
Yes, the 108th Annual Conference of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners will be held in Pitt County, North Carolina on August 20th to 23rd. I would recommend you have one commissioner attending that meeting, and that is Commissioner Upton.
Okay.
Requires to be present to vote, as I remember, so.
Okay. And Bill, will you consent to serve as the voting delegate?
I will.
Okay, then in that case, would entertain a motion that Commissioner Upton be designated as the voting delegate at the 108th Annual Conference of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Congratulations.
I
Bill.
attended school down there, and it's a lot cooler down there.
Then what?
In Greenville?
I was just kidding. It's
Oh,
about-
yeah.
There's no Greenville that's cooler than here.
It'll be 95 in the shade, so.
Is it in Greenville?
Okay, we'll continue for the duration of our agenda with Ira Dove. Number 11 is requesting reappointment of a member to the ETJ representative for the town of Waynesville.
Yes, there are 2 vacancies. One must be an ETJ member for a 3-year term. These were, both applicants were put up, Mr. Neil Ensley as the ETJ representative, and Mr. Henry Kidder would be the 2 that I received from the town of Waynesville. Mr. Ensley requesting that he be reappointed to the Zoning Board of Adjustment, and Mr. Ensley representing the ETJ. And Mr. Kidder is appointed for his initial term.
Neil Ensley would be the only one that we would take an action on, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. I would entertain a motion then that Neil Ensley be reappointed to the ETJ, as an ETG representative to the town of Waynesville, a zoning board of adjustment.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And I just wanted to say, Neil, I'm not related to Neil. I mean, we are probably down the line, but just want to make that clear.
Well, your grandmother is related to me, so
Yeah, that's
there you
true.
go.
Yeah, probably are somewhere back there.
Okay, item 12, new business is requesting reappointment of 2 members to the Community Advisory Committee for Long-Term Nursing Home. Ira?
Yes, received the memo from Larry Reeves, who is the long-term care ombudsman for Region A Southwestern Commission. They're requesting 2 members be reappointed, and that's Brian Grimm and Susanna Bezanet, to 3-year terms as members of the Community Advisory for Long-Term Care.
Okay, questions, comments? If not, would entertain a motion that Susanna Bezanet and Brian Grimm be appointed to the Community Advisory Committee for Long-Term Care / Nursing Homes.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. And we'll conclude the agenda with a request of appointment for a member to the Haywood County Library Board of Trustees. This will be by ballot.
Yes, there are 2 candidates, Elaine Stewart and Carla Woody. May I approach?
Please.
It is 3-2 for Ms. Stewart.
Okay. And we will notify both by letter.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, that concludes the agenda for this evening. I would entertain a motion at this point to enter into closed session for personnel under authority of 143-318.11A6, closed session minutes 143-318.11A1, and attorney-client privilege 143-318.11A3.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
For the members of the media, there will be likely be an action following. It will consist of the disposition of closed session minutes, which will be available for the ones that are released following the meeting. We have returned from closed session. At this point, I would entertain a motion that the following closed minutes be approved and thereafter released. April 20th, 2015, attorney-client privilege. April 20th, 2015, acquisition of real property. April 20th, 2015, acquisition of real property. And May 4th, 2015, closed session minutes. Would entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Well, at this point, entertain a second motion that the following closed session minutes be approved but not released. May 4th, 2015, attorney-client privilege. May 4th, 2015, personnel. May 18th, 2015, personnel. May 18th, 2015, attorney-client privilege. May 18th, 2015, personnel. June 1st, 2015, personnel. June 1st, 2015, personnel. June 1st, 2015, attorney-client privilege, and June 1st, 2015, attorney-client privilege. Entertain that motion.
So moved.
Second? Second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. Any further business? Hearing none, would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. We are adjourned.